2/31/1975, I hereby state that this notice of the regular meeting has been provided to the public by written notice dated January 18th, 2022. The meeting notice has been emailed to all staff at the District 3 school locations. 2, communicated to at least one of the board's designated newspapers. And 3, filed with the Borough Clerk of Palisades Park. Roll call, please.
Dr. Matarazzo.
Here.
Newman. Here. Njsla Garcia.
Here.
Sue Chung. Here. Jason King. Kevin Lynn.
Here.
Peter Longo.
Here.
John Mazzarella.
Here.
Charlie Shin.
Here.
Dr. Cirillo.
Here.
Mr. Kay.
Here.
Okay. Sarah Kim. Present.
Okay, first item, I just want to say that I spoke to Captain Espina today about an incident that was reported, and both he and Dr. Cirillo collaborated with me on it. There was some incident of some people outside when students and teachers were leaving. We are addressing it. He was very cooperative, and I thank him for that, as well as Dr. Cirillo. That's it for my report as of right now, and we'll move on, please, to report of the superintendent. Dr. Cirillo.
Thank you, Dr. Matarazzo. As required by law, within 60 days of receiving test scores from the state of New Jersey, we have to do a public presentation. So you are here for a presentation, but before we do that, I am honored, I am grateful, and privileged to recognize, I see 3 in attendance. I know there were 3 more that could not join us. So I'm going to personally ask each of these resilient, brilliant, whatever adjective you want to use, young adults of our junior, senior high school to come forward. I have a certificate of acknowledgement, and I will explain why they are being recognized. So I'm going to start with our youngest, but by far potentially our smartest. Tara is a freshman at Palisades Park Junior Senior High School, and she has a perfect score in the New Jersey SLA, only one in the district. Congratulations, Tara. Great job. The next 2 individuals were 2 of 5 students at our junior senior high school that were recognized as National Merit Scholarship recipients. They are obviously extremely intelligent, to say the least. They are recognized for their assessment in College Board tests, specifically PSATs. So what I have before me are 2 certificates, one for Miss Yoon Park. Come on forward, please. Nice job. You can show everyone. I hope I spelled your name right. No, I'm just kidding. And last but not least, there are some boys and men who are intelligent in our schools as well. Last but not least, Mr. Jonathan Song. Come on forward, please. Congratulations. Right for you. Take a quick picture. Congrats. So, in the past, we've recognized and had the ability to, showcase our cream of the crop. Obviously, coming off of the last couple of years, which have not been the easiest. They have been anxiety-driven, to say the least, with the world we live in. I really tip my hat to you all, not just the students here, but everyone, every parent, any student. And again, a test, not to take anything away from these kids, is a little snapshot of what we do in our schools throughout the course of the year. What these kids did on that assessment is above and beyond what I can ever accomplish in my life, and really, much success to you all. To the students that were not here, I will be sure to hand deliver these certificates to them. I spoke to their parents already. Unfortunately, they did have a prior commitment today, but kudos to you all. To our 2 individuals in the back, for those of you that do not know, Mr. Garcia and Mr. Fallon, part of our requirement is to annually present our test scores in the district. In doing so, I've asked that we have a short presentation. If there are questions, I'm going to ask that we have those at the end of the presentation. It's a lot of information to gather, a lot of information to absorb, but I tell you, all of this will be on our district website after tonight's presentation. If there are any questions, of course, please reach out to me, reach out to the school administration. We'll be more than happy to help. When they are finished, I will be asking for a few resolutions in new business to the board. Other than that, I have nothing further. Thank you. Mr. Fallon, Mr. Garcia, the show is yours.
Sure.
Thank you for being here.
Sure. Good evening, everybody. So Andrew and I have a brief presentation for you tonight that'll go over some district assessments that we took last year. These assessments have a lot of acronyms, so we will do our best to explain each test and explain what proficiency level we're testing for and who is taking the test and how we did. So the first test we're going to talk about, you guys can see the screen, is the Njsla, which is the New Jersey Student Learning Assessment. The NJGPA, which is a high school exam, which is the New Jersey Graduation Proficiency Assessment. The Start Strong Assessment, which was created due to COVID to test students in grades 4 through 10 on how they performed in previous year standards. And the Access testing, which is bilingual ESL assessment, which tests students' English proficiency in the English language. Okay. So just an overview of the couple of assessments that I mentioned. So the New Jersey Student Learning Assessment for English Language Arts and Mathematics and Science measures how well students meet the New Jersey Student Learning Standards. The New Jersey Student Learning Standards are what our teachers are teaching our students in the classroom each day. They are standards that measure that are aligned with the Common Core, which are taught in every state in our country. The NJSLS, which stands for the New Jersey Student Learning Standards, define what students are expected to learn in each content area. They are the foundation of which districts build curricula and plan instruction to prepare each New Jersey student with knowledge and skills that they are needed for success. The data from the NJSLA, which is the New Jersey Student Learning Assessment, sorry, these words are a mouthful, these acronyms, are from students' daily interactions with teachers, as well as their performance on teacher and district developed assessments, combined to provide a complete picture of student achievement. Students are tested in the following grade levels and courses, which are grade 9 ELA, grade 9 math, based on course enrollment, and science in grade 11 for the high school, regardless of their enrollment status.
So the key here is really that last bullet point there. When we're looking at data, sometimes it's very overwhelming. It's a bunch of numbers. It's like, what does it mean? I just want to, give you context to what we're going to show you. A bulk of all of the kids who were tested had an interrupted last couple of years. Take our 9th graders, for example. Just know that when we're looking at their test scores, they really had an abnormal 7th and 8th grade year, those foundational skills that they would normally have. Of course, it's understandable they're not up to par with where we would usually expect. Right? So just keep that in mind as we're moving forward looking at these numbers.
So interpreting scores. So the New Jersey Student Learning Assessment, which is the first test that we're going to go over, scores students between a level 1 to a level 5. So students take the test in multiple subjects, ELA, math, and science, depending on the grade level. And they are scored from a level 1 to a level 5. Level 1 says did not yet meet expectations. Level 2, partially met. Level 3, approached expectations. Level 4, met. And level 5, exceeds. For the purposes of our presentation tonight, we are going to share the data with you, and this will be posted on our website, but it is a lot of data. So we're going to be focusing on what we're going to do about the data to move forward within the elementary schools and the high school.
And just so I can add another piece, so you look at the 5 levels, different than from an AP score. Each of those levels has a numeric equation that falls within those numbers. So Tara, perfect example, who's here with us tonight, obviously was a level 5. But a level 5 is equivalent to a number. That number is 800 still? 800. So Tara had a perfect score, as I mentioned. Sorry to embarrass you a little bit. Congratulations. But again, each of those numeric levels is equivalent to a number value.
So the scores range from 100 to up to 800, and we really drill down the scores in the elementary and the high schools to really focus on students who need the additional support in their classes. We provide this data to the teachers in the summer, and they really drive and plan their instructions each week with this data. Okay. Our district enrollment for testing purposes, so we are testing starting in grade 3. So in grade 3, we have 144 students, grade 4, 126. I won't go through each grade level, but we had about 1,267 students testing last year. And then just for subgroup purposes, we measure our special education and bilingual population. We also reported out our numbers for reporting purposes. You may see in areas of under 10, any under 10 reporting is not reported. So that's a ratio that we will not be reporting on for percentage purposes. But you may see it less than 10, that means there was less than 10 students in that range.
And that is done for privacy rights. The State Department of Education does not want us to potentially identify those students. So if there's less than 10, of course, in any grade level, we are not permitted to show those scores.
So, like Patrick said, there's a lot of data, there's a lot of numbers, there's like, I think over 30 slides, so we're not gonna do that to you and go through every number, but we did want to explain how to interpret it so that when we publish it, you guys can sift through the data, and of course, we're always available should you have any questions about that data or any of the numbers. What we are really gonna focus on, and I'm gonna skip through a couple of these slides, are what we're doing about it as a district. All right, so here are the intervention strategies. You can see that there's a lot. It starts with analyzing the data, trying to identify trends, and then helping our educators analyze those and use those for planning purposes. So in our PLCs, which stands for Professional Learning Communities, our teachers get together at grade level or content, and they really dig down into the data and plan their lessons based on this. They target specific standards that we've identified weaknesses within the classroom. We also have, maybe you want to speak a little bit to
Sure.
Title I?
Sure. Our Title I department has expanded. Title I is federal funds that come into our district to increase student achievement levels. So our Title I department usually was encompassed of part-time Title I teachers. Knowing that COVID was a problem for our students for the last 2 years, we actually hired 5 full-time Title I teachers this year. So at the elementary level, we have 5 full-time teachers who are working with students who scored in the realm of level 3 on the previous side, which is approaching expectations, who work with those students during various times throughout the day. I don't want to get too ahead. You can go INRS.
Yes, so then we also, it's really all encompassing. This drives what our INRS process, our after school, before school programming is all based on this data. We have, even our school climate and culture impacts our scores, so we focus on that. This really drives just about everything that we do. We dig down in the data, we see how we can move our students forward. NJGPA I'll speak to because it's high school specific. So last year, our 11th graders took the NJGPA for the first time. They passed the bill that made it just a field test. So for this graduating class of 2023, there are no assessment requirements for this class, but moving forward, the NJGPA is going to be the first pathway towards graduation. So they would have to at least take that assessment, and then based on the score, they may pass, and if they do, they met the requirement. If they don't, then there's alternate pathways that they can take in order to graduate from high school. It's a field test, so I definitely don't want to spend time on this data because it just helps us, it informs us on how to move forward with the next graduating class. It doesn't have an impact on the class of 2023.
The access assessment is for ESL and bilingual students. The access assessment is ELL stands for English Language Learner. It is used for making decisions about whether students are ready to exit English language supports, meaning if they score a certain percentage on the assessment, it'll allow them to enter into general education rather than being in ESL bilingual. Decision making for student placement into appropriate classes, monitoring the progress of students that they have made in English language proficiency, and it's also good for public reporting to ensure that our programs are accountable and that we are working toward our ESSER and ESSA funds appropriately. Proficiency levels for access are a little different. There is different phases. There are levels as well, but there is an entering phase, an emerging phase, a developing phase, an expanding phase, a bridging phase, and reaching.
There'll be a test on all of this after, guys.
Results focused, the access test is listening, speaking, reading, writing, oral language, literacy, and comprehension. So it's very encompassing and it's very difficult, but our students are scoring better on it as we move forward each year. So our students are doing a wonderful job, and our ESL and bilingual teachers are working really hard to increase these numbers as we move forward. Participation rates are always, that's a number of students who are taking the test, and we always strive for 100% or close to it. This is just the scores again. We will be sharing this with you, but ESL bilingual access testing ranges from level 1 to level 6, and these are kind of how our grade bands fared within it. You can see the K to 5 is the elementary school students. So 30% fell into level 1, 28% fell into level 2, 19 into level 3, 14 into level 4, 11 to level 5, and 0 to level 6. The same with the middle and the high school. So obviously that we have there's work to be done, but we're closing that bridge now that we've been in school for the last 2 years full time.
Skip to the, so the intervention strategies for ESL specific, a lot of them are the same as for other students, but I'm proud to announce, I know at Lindbergh you've had an after-school ESL program probably for 2 years.
Yeah, we started it, yes.
The high school is now starting one as well, a targeted intervention program for ESL. That's going to start soon. Based on our test scores, we are targeting specific kids, the standards that they need help in, and we're going to invite them to an after-school program. In addition to the other programs that we are already running, like Option 2 pathways that already service ESL kids, but isn't specific for ESL.
And Lindbergh started October 3rd. We started our ESL reading and writing after school program. So we currently have about 40 ESL students who come 4 days a week for an hour after school and have an intense remediation session in reading and writing. In addition to our academic program, we have academic remediation and ESL reading and writing. Start Strong assessment was an assessment that was created due to the pandemic. The assessment was supposed to measure the learning loss in the COVID hybrid learning instruction time. So we administered it for the first time last year, and then it was mandatory this year. So we're looking at the 2021 data, which was last fall. This test was a brief designed to maximize instructional time and provide quick data for our teachers to see who was at level and who was not at level, or who needs support. It was a 45 to 60 minute test. We did it in September of this year, and it outputs the data within a few days so the teachers have it and they know how to appropriately plan for their future instruction. Last year, grades 4 through 10 took the test. Has a district, level 1, 2, and 3 is the score ranges. 46% of our students needed strong support. After the pandemic, 18% needed some support, and 36% needed no support at all. This test does not test writing, it's only reading comprehension, math, and science. And this is in ELA, so this tells us kind of how they were test if it were this spring. In math, it's a little bit of a different story. Math is a little bit of our challenge, which is why we're shifting our curriculum and updating our standards. In all grades, 65% needed strong support in the district, 19% needed some support, and 16% needed no support. In science, it was similar. Science, it was tested in grades 6, 9, and 12. You could see in the level 1 range, 59% of our 6th graders, I'll just go for the whole district, so 62% of our 6th graders of 6, 9, and 12, needed strong support, 27% needed some support, and 13% needed no support. So science in those grade levels is still a big need as well. The dynamic learning map, which is the DLM, which is for special education, we only had a small group of students in the district take this assessment. So due to the Family Educational Rights and Privacy Act that Dr. Sirlo mentioned earlier, we are actually not able to publicly report on the progress, but the students are doing well who take the DLM each year.
And that's it for the presentation, so thank you for your time. So, as Dr. Sirlo mentioned, this will be posted on
online, so if you guys want to look through the data, it will be shared and it will be available to anyone.
This will all be on our website, and for the purposes of the two principals being here, Mr. Fallon, Mr. Garcia, are there any questions specific to the presentation that you may or may not just have heard? Yes, sir.
How you doing, Bradley Rivera? Just got a simple question. Is the data collected, can I expect to see comparison with the students in this district to the rest of New Jersey?
Yes.
Nationally and globally?
It's national, it's in New Jersey and national, we don't have it globally.
So there, Mr. Rivera, there is something called a DFG, a district factor group. So I know the state has sort of shied away from comparing children to children or, communities to communities. They don't want to, single out. That's a wealthy place and they're doing great, and that's a poor place and they're not doing so well. So they kind of shy away from it, but district factor groups are comprised of socioeconomic backgrounds. So similar districts, I know for a fact Palisades Park has a similar demographic group to Weehawken. I know that, so they would compare us to a school like that. They would never compare us to a Ramapo Indian Hills or an Upper Saddle River. It just wouldn't be fair. Socioeconomic. We have a very large free and reduced lunch population. We have to take in mind our student population is not similar to those places, but demographically we look at socioeconomic, and not we, the state, but again, they shy away from it. For purposes of reporting, they do say individual score reports will show me as a parent, my children, how they compare to other kids in their grade, how they compare to other kids in the state of New Jersey. And I see some head shaking, moms have seen those reports. And the reality is, and again, I never put all of our energy stock, maybe it's not the right thing to say, but a test is a test. It's one snapshot of what goes on throughout the course of the year. And again, we have some brilliant children in our schools. And students that are great test takers are, again, kudos to them because they will be extremely successful. But we have extremely talented artistic children that may not do well there. We have children in the music programs. So there's many factors, but there are comparisons out there. And for the purposes of not, again, if there are no other questions, he apologizes. He said he was studying. But we have one more. I'm just kidding, David. David Yu is one more National Merit Scholarship recipient. Congratulations. Awesome job. He was studying. He has an AP test tomorrow. Is that true? What do you mean? David, who are you sitting next to? Smart kids? Maybe. Congratulations. I thank the principals. I know the info will be on the website. They don't have to stick around. To the students, congratulations again. I applaud you all. Go home, get some rest, go out, get some dinner. If you want to stay, enjoy. Thank you. I appreciate it. Yes, hold on. I'm sorry. Question from a board member.
For the data of the ELA language arts, which I received in January, the later part, it shows like level 1 to 3. Only the level 1 to 3 is 100%, okay? But this new one consists of level up to level 5. So how can you compare?
Those were two different.
Level 1 to 3 and this one level 1 to 3, 4, 5.
The data that you have from January was the Start Strong assessment, which was a measure of learning loss from the pandemic. So there was only 3 levels that said strong support needed, some support needed, or no support needed. The Njsla is the year assessment that students take every year to measure each student against another student within the state. So that has 5 levels.
So Mr. Shin, to help clarify it a little bit, if I may. Thank you, Patrick. The state of New Jersey receives very much federal funding because there are assessment components tied to it. During the COVID pandemic, the Njsla was waived 1 year, but the year that it was waived was in the spring. When the students came back last fall, they had to take an assessment because money from the federal government mandates that we assess our children in the state of New Jersey. The assessment that was administered was what you are looking at, the Start Strong. What we just presented was the Njsla, which is the annual spring assessment of our students. So the Njsla has the rubric of a 1 through 5. The Start Strong, which was the first time it was ever administered last fall, And for whatever reason, we just administered it again a few weeks ago. I'm not sure why, but maybe we can compare last year to this year, again, to measure, as sad as it sounds, the learning loss. I don't like the word loss. There's many losses. Learning is something that, you know, we can catch up, I hope. But again, it was two different
At the
tests.
beginning, I thought there was a lot of great advancement in
Yes.
the development, but eventually it is not apple to apple comparison.
No, no. What we can compare, hopefully in the next few months, if we get the actual assessments of our Start Strong that we just administered a few weeks ago, we can compare September Start Strong of 2022 to September Start Strong of 2021.
Okay.
And I would probably, I'm not a betting man, but I probably would say that we did much better this year because you had a full year of students in school versus students coming back from a pandemic, many being hybrid, and that assessment being thrown on their lap.
Okay, we expect that.
I hope so.
And
Thank you.
Start Strong is also the year before standard. So on a fourth grader, the Start Strong is a third grade test.
Correct.
Great.
Thank you again. And to the students, thank you. Feel free, this is your one chance. You're not allowed to cut class, but you're allowed to leave if you want.
Thank you very much.
Oh, Mr. Kim has a question.
No, you guys can leave. I have. Dr. Sorillo, do we still have a science academy program?
We do have a Math and Science Academy program, yes, sir.
And they are selected when they take a test on 8th grade?
Yes, so in the 8th grade, Mr. Garcia, do you want to talk a little bit about the Math and Science Academy and the entrance exam? I'm sure many of these students are in that program.
I think many board members do not know about this.
Yep,
This
so
is
it's
one of
a-
the great program we have, and we can sell out. Okay, go ahead.
Please, and just talk about the entrance criteria and how we identify the children and how they are selected for our Math and Science Academy at the junior, senior high school.
Sure, usually it starts, their 8th grade year when they're entering high school. We've expanded it since then and allowed transfer students who are coming in from other districts to join as well. But it's based on a few things, some entrance exams, their previous grades, and an interview as well. We take all that into consideration when they apply, and then based on what their interests are, we actually have a humanities track as well. They pick which track, and then we put them in that track, and it's a course of study that they have to complete, and then they earn a distinction when they graduate.
And we've seen some great results from many of the students in the Math and Science Academy. We've had some Ivy League students, be accepted and attend. We've also seen, and the idea of the Math and Science Academy when I was a high school administrator was really to offer something in comparison to what the Bergen Academies offer. We have to offer something to stay in your home district. And the idea is that not all students are prepared for the rigors of the Bergen County Academies. So many kids go out, they try it, but then when they return, what we had to make an exception was, we have to admit some of these students. They're our brightest, they're our best. They deserve to be in that program. So if it doesn't work elsewhere, they shouldn't be punished. We can allow them to enter our programs as well.
Great.
Yes, some of our board members probably saw that more than 60% need assistance in ELL as well as the math. But we do have a situation, we have that kind of population that we need to support them. So that's why we have that program. But we also have another program that Dr. Cirillo just mentioned, that we have a science program and humanity program that we can lead the smart students to the right direction. So that if any parents saying that our school district is not as good, that's not true, because our science program is the one that is pushed, the one who is motivated, and who is very smart from the very young age.
Jason, and I could just add that we are an extremely unique community. I don't believe that there is another community in the state of New Jersey like Palisades Park. I don't believe that they have our student body. We have so many students coming to us with very low education levels, and those children are being assessed. And for comparative purposes, I know Mr. Rivera asked that question. I don't like to compare myself to anyone else. I like to see where the kids enter and when they leave. Are they proficient? And are they gonna be successful in life? And the resounding answer is always yes.
Yeah, and I'd just like to add too that it is, we're talking about test scores and the academy track, but it's in our uniqueness, there are strengths. So where other people might find a weakness in difficulties and barriers, with our population, they bring something else to the table. It's not just about test scores, and everybody has their own strengths, and I think what we pride ourselves in Palisades Park and definitely at the high school is shining a light on those strengths and helping everybody reach success, which looks different for everybody. So whether it's academy, or not, we have that ability in Palisades Park.
Thank you.
What is the average size of the academic program?
It ranges, I think don't quote me on this,
Yeah,
because I don't have it in
sure.
front of
It's
me,
average.
but I think this graduating class has about 4 or 5 kids that are graduating with that this year.
So they enter as freshmen. Some of them, obviously, the rigors of the courses, there are many APs. They might leave that program with upwards of 20-something AP credit. So that could be 7 courses that they've taken, equivalent to college credits. And that, again, these are, David's the last one standing. How old are you, David? 15 or 16? 17. They're young adults. And again, for them to be taking college level courses, they start in freshman and sophomore year to do that. It's not easy. It's not something I've ever endured, and I just commend them for being able to do such the work that they do.
And they have to be there early, 7.
0 period. 0 period if they want to be in that program.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you for your
Thank you, guys.
presentation.
David, thank you, buddy.
Thank you. Okay, we'll move on now. Report of the board attorney.
Yes, I have a report on the progress of the collective negotiation agreement with PPSA, that stands for Palisades Park Supervisors Association, as well as PPAA, stands for Palisades Park Administrators Association. For the first group, which is PPSA, the contract language is done. I'm just waiting for the contract to be signed. First by the representative, PPSA's representative, and then I'll present it. I actually wanted to present it tonight, but then I didn't get the signature in time. So I'll be presenting it next month. And also PPAA, that contract is about to, the contract language is about to start, and I don't anticipate a lot of time into it because we already have a previous version. I just need to change words here and there. So I'll be presenting that for approval as well next month.
Okay, great. Thank you. Next item, minute approval, August 31st, 2022. I'd like to entertain a motion on that.
I'll make a motion.
Second on that? Any discussion? And that was all posted on the website. Thank you, Diane, Ms. Montemuro. If not, roll call, please.
Dr. Matarazzo?
Yes.
Newman? Yes. Aniesca Garcia?
Yes.
Sue, you were not here that day? Sue?
I wasn't there.
You were, okay. Jason, you weren't right.
I'd like to recuse myself.
Kevin Lim?
Yes.
Peter Longo?
Yes.
John Madison?
Yes.
Charlie Schiff?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. We'll move on to committee reports. We'll start with finance, Mr. Lim.
Okay. As for the finance committee, we had a meeting with the auditor yesterday, and we discussed about the overall field audit, which is done twice already, and based on the schedule, I think their overall audit is gonna be done sometime in February. So with the audit done, then they will have an action meeting with all board members. So we can expect that sometime in February to have a current audit action meeting. And yesterday also have a meeting on the bill list, and we have total 9, including that we have total 9 consent agenda. But I just want to see one agenda, the number 8. I just want to table it because I just asked for the detail of financials, but I just got it today. So I just want to review it more in detail with the person in charge, so that except the, I don't know if there's anything urgent, but except for, item 8. I just want to have like for 8 consent agenda for, moving on for, resolution.
I'm just asking for the procedure wise. As chairperson, you can table it, or table goes by the whole.
Well, I think what I understood, he wants to only table number 8.
Just one.
Correct. You wanna recommend
So he can
all
individually
of the
table
other?
what-
Oh, it sounds like he's making, I'm not the attorney, I'm sorry, Ms. Kim.
That's okay. Yes, so he's only asking to table number 8, so the board can decide, whether to table just, item number 8. Yeah, it's up to the board to decide.
Yeah, so he is requesting to table it, and board members should decide either table number 8 can be tabled or not.
Yes.
So,
Yeah,
And just so that I
I think
understand, I
that's-
think the reason stated why you wanna table it is because you
That's
just
right.
got some
Yeah, because, yeah, I
information,
think,
and you'd like to review that and the
That's
additional
right, because
information.
being finance committee, right, I think finance committee should be able to go into the more detail of the report, right? So that, from the chairman of the, chairperson of finance committee, I strongly recommend that this one should be tabled, because I
Okay.
totally take a look at it.
So the first item that we are going to be resolving is whether we should table number 8 or not.
that's correct.
So let's, entertain a motion on tabling number 8. Is that what you're recommending, Ms. Lim?
That's right.
Second on that?
I second it.
Okay, any discussion?
Who's second?
Sue, Joe.
And are there specific concerns that you have, were there over expenditures, or can you just explain a little bit as to
Yeah,
what the
because I
concerns
think
are?
one thing I like to mention about the overall, financial reviews, that I don't wanna go in detail with the financials, right? But I already, we can see some kind of budget process expenses, right, on a monthly basis, right? I have not done it like almost like 5 or 6 months. So last time, I think I just, briefly take a look at, the last report I had. For sometime, March, that I have report, right? March is like the latest one, that the budget process, like expenses, right? So somehow there's a lag of, overall financial data, I just wanna take a look at it, right? So that I just wanna take it overall, what is the overall financials, month to month. And particularly, before I just come to this meeting, I ask for the detail of the, the financials for, I just found it over, right now on the table. So I think it's got to take a look at it in more, a bit more in detail, the person in charge, maybe Alex or, Lala, so we can just go over and finally, have some kind of recommendation for resolution for, for that people.
I have one other question there. Dr. Sorello, is this number, item number 8 is crucial to pass by today?
To the best of my knowledge, number 8 is a financial, Alex, are you
It
aware?
has to be within 60 days
So the
of
number,
August 31st.
60
It
days.
has to
Of
pass today,
August?
or else we'll get dinged,
Or else what?
or else we'll get a write-up from the auditors.
Okay, so the date that we,
It has to be
It's already
approved
passed.
within 60 days
so it has to be
31st of
31st.
October would be
from
60
August
days.
31st.
August 31st.
So,
August
August
31st,
31st.
September?
So it's passed already.
No,
No,
No.
it's- it'll be
approaching.
It's
So,
approaching,
the end
but we
of
would be
October,
passed by
right?
November.
End of
October.
October. End of
Yeah, we
October.
can
I
get it done.
think we can have a big meeting sometime, next week. So
Next-
You would need a special
A
meeting.
special
Mr. Lin.
emergency meeting then to pass.
And we have the convention on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday of next week, so many of us will not be here during that time. So if we don't do it tonight,
Yeah, I think after meeting, I think we can have it. Yeah, 24th or 26th, right? 24, 5, 6, right? So I think we can meet. Either Thursday, Friday, Friday.
well, Fridays, I don't think.
You're proposing a special meeting next Thursday?
Otherwise, is there any way that we can extend that kind of deadlines? So,
Can it be extended, Alex?
so the issue is that, I think, knowing that you guys have like a 6 days like a deadline, right? Why this one report like, the August report? I think it should have known a little bit earlier.
We were still working with the numbers. The bank rec has to tie out. So we were busy with everything else going on, as long as it's within 60 days. And just to clarify, you can't have any over expenditures. So basically, an over expenditure means every single account has to be transferred and basically over 0. So nothing can go in the negative, no specific account can go in the negative. And you can't have a board secretary
Yeah, just
report.
that kind of things I just wanna take a look at it, because, whether that's, kind of true or not, I just wanna, take a brief look into a little more in detail.
So you don't think that there is over expenditure, or you suspect that there, I'm not
Yeah,
sure.
just as a person in charge of finance committee, right, I just wanna take a look at it, because, this is my duty and also my responsibility as a person that I need to discharge, right? So, I just ask this report, like, in advance, right? If there is any kind of time, then I just wanna take a look at it. And we have time, to review yesterday, but, all of, you mentioned that there's two more items like to be added, right? But somehow I just take a look at the, the agenda today. And one of my items is this one. And I ask, for the details, right? And now they send it to me, put it on my table, right? So I don't think it's the right way, simply without taking, looking the detail of this report, right? Simply approve that. I don't think that's the right, way of, thinking, so whatever,
I don't think that's unreasonable to ask. The problem is the fact that next Thursday is the only day that we could possibly have the meeting.
And we would need a quorum.
Going forward, I can send you it. I can send it to you in advance.
Could you talk to, whether there could be any kind of exception to, maybe, some kind of, with a, proper reason, I think we can make some kind of exception.
They're not gonna make it.
I don't
That-
think so.
I think this is statute, I don't think this is,
Deadline 60 days. That's from what I know.
I think it's a regulation, if I'm
Yeah.
not mistaken.
And you're pleased
And
with
it's
everything
exact.
that is in there?
Yeah, I don't wanna feel pushed like this, right, because, so simply 6 days like a deadline, simply posting a report like this and, looks like, feeling
Yeah.
like forced to accept this one, without looking at the details.
I don't think anyone's being forced to accept it, but
No,
I
I'm
think.
just feeling myself, I.
Yeah, you feel that,
myself,
okay,
right?
it's
Well,
okay.
as a finance committee member, I actually had no chance to look at it neither, because we received today.
Yeah, it should be very important, at least like there's finance committee members, right? The members should be able to look into the details of the report, right?
On everything.
Yeah, that's right,
On
I
everything.
think, it's very common,
Yeah, but my
under
problem,
normal situation, well, I don't think it's gonna be happening in any kind of organization,
right,
right?
my problem is that we'll be penalized
It-
if we wait.
No,
there-
It has to be contingent,
Because
I understand your concern, but I
there's-
think it has to be contingent on us then being able to have a timely special meeting. Cause I agree with you and your concerns are valid, my concern is being penalized for not complying with the
Yeah,
regulation.
Right.
if it's really important, then I think we can set the meeting.
Mr. Lim, I think a
Thursday.
special meeting can be had on Thursday, so long that 5 members are available. It doesn't have to be a night meeting, we can advertise it in the
That's what I'm saying,
afternoon.
yeah.
Yes.
Whatever,
He does have a legitimate reason, as a chairperson, yeah, he
Okay,
wants to
yes.
review, so.
How does
There
it,
are 5
As long as
persons
it's
available
before-
that day.
can I ask before we vote, will people be available next Thursday? Cause that's the only possible day. Jason, will you be available Thursday?
I will make it available.
Okay.
What time though, Tom? What time are you talking about?
Wanna make it at 4 o'clock?
Same
Seven,
time,
right?
7 o'clock.
7 o'clock?
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll see who's available. You're available 7 o'clock? John?
I don't know, I can't tell you right now, I don't know.
Okay, and yes,
I'm waiting on my daughter's volleyball schedule. I don't
okay,
know.
yeah, I'm not sure either.
Cause I
That's
booked, yeah.
one affirmative, Ms. Minnick.
Yeah, I can make.
You can make it, so that'd be 2. Mr. Longo?
I should be at 7, but there's something going on and I'm not sure.
Right, where you're going to be, so it's definitely 2. Mr. Shin?
Yeah, I'm available.
Okay, that's 3. Ms. Chung?
I will make it.
Okay, 4, and Ms. Lin 5. So then we'll have 5. So then now there's a motion on the floor right now to table number 8. Roll call, please.
need a second, I think.
Wait,
Oh, Ms. Chung seconded it.
Second.
yeah, and it was seconded already, yes. Any more discussion on it? Okay, Diane?
Are we gonna vote on the finance?
No, this is just on tabling number 8. And we're gonna do the other motion separate.
Dr. Matarazzo?
Yes.
Yoon Min? Yes. Annie Esposito?
Yes, on the condition we're not penalized.
Okay. Sue Chung?
Yes.
Jason Kim?
Yes.
Kevin Lim?
Yes.
Peter Longo?
Yes.
John Madison?
Yes.
Charlie Shin?
Yes.
Great. Now, would you please make a resolution on all of the other ones except for number 8?
Yes.
Okay, you resolve, second on that?
I'm second.
Any discussion on the other motions?
Yoon Min?
If not, roll call, please.
Dr. Matarazzo.
Yes.
Newman.
Yes.
Hannah Esther Garcia.
Yes.
Sue Chung.
Yes.
Kevin Lynn.
Yes.
Peter Longo.
Yes.
John Madison.
Yes.
Charlie Shin.
Yes.
Just a question on tabling number 8. We meet next Thursday. Is that the only thing that we're gonna be discussing? Or is there gonna be anything else on?
That should be it
This point.
at this point. And Diane, if you could just advertise as that, just on one motion. Okay, great, thank you. Next will be buildings and grounds. Mr. Shen.
Yes, building and grounds, I'd like to make a motion for just one resolution, which is shooting, active shooter drills in December. That's in Lindbergh School by Police Department.
Great.
So,
Second on that?
Second.
Discussion. I have one. Last time they found some shells in the, that were left there behind, and some people panicked a little bit. Can we just make sure that none of that is left behind to scare anybody?
So when Dr. Matarazzo says shells, please don't be alarmed. They are not using actual bullets in our schools. I promise you, I will never make that recommendation. But the police department is required, with the Attorney General's office, to conduct active shooter training drills in our schools in the event there is ever an emergency. So what I've asked Captain Espino is that if they know they hit the trigger 10 times, well, they better pick up 10 remnants. That's all is,
Great.
I think,
That's
your
what
point,
I'm-
and I will make that request to him
Absolutely.
again in writing.
Please.
okay, yeah, it
That's
is
a-
very necessary.
Yes.
So, as me, myself, as a retired Marine officer, if I'm allowed, I will go there and supervise
Check the
myself.
shell, you count the shells.
Make sure they don't make you the dummy in the room that
That's
they're,
right.
you know.
I'll be the dummy. Okay, so we have any other discussion on that? If not, roll call, please.
Dr. Matarazzo.
Yes.
Newman. Yes. Hannah Esther Garcia.
Yes.
Sue Chung. Yes. Jason Kim. Kevin Lynn.
Yes.
Peter Longo.
Yes.
John Madison.
Yes.
Charlie Shin.
Yeah.
Okay, next item will be personnel, Ms. Min.
Yes, President. We reviewed yesterday all 7 resolutions. So before us, we have 7 resolutions. So I'd like to make a motion as a consent agenda.
Second on that?
I'll second.
Any discussion? If not, roll call, please.
Dr. Matarazzo.
Yes.
Newman.
Yes.
Hannah Esther Garcia.
Yes.
Sue Chung. Yes. Jason Kim. Kevin Lynn.
Yes.
Peter Longo.
Yes.
John Madison.
Yes.
Charlie Shin.
Yeah.
Just that we wish good luck to the ones that are leaving us, and we're going to always miss anyone who retires, resigns, or leaves. Okay. Next curriculum, Mr. Longo.
Last Monday, I had a meeting with Dr. Cirillo and the principals of all 3 schools, and Mrs. Tennant and Mrs. Min was there. And it was about 1.5 hours, and I thought it was a very interesting meeting. I had a lot of concerns based on my experience as a teacher at the high school, and hearing, some things haven't changed, and I wanted, hopefully, something will be done about certain areas. Yeah, I won't be here after December, so hopefully the next person who's in charge of the curriculum committee could maybe, continue what we talked about. Not that these things are gonna be done today or tomorrow, but hopefully in the budget, certain areas will be placed so we can have certain things done. And topics we discussed were, some of the textbooks that are outdated in our schools. I also learned, some of the new programs. For example, in math, they've added programs in 6th, 7th, and 8th, and even in the elementary school. They added, they're going to purchase the program next year in science. They have some units that are used by the teachers that they're very pleased with. So there was information that was presented. We talked about the library, the future of that in the high school. I was concerned about censorship, whether or not there was a policy concerning books that are used, and there is. I had a question about phonics, but ironically, Mrs. Tennant said they are adding phonics or going to be stressing it again or introducing it again because they feel that it would be helpful to our students. I was concerned about the use of grammar as applies to writing, and hopefully if they purchase new textbooks and programs, whether they're online or on paper, the grammar will be incorporated in there to help them with the writing. I talked about science labs need to be updated, and I'm sure they'll be looking into that in the future. This could take 4 or 5 years, if not longer. And we also talked about world language. I know they've added sign language, which is something good, and hopefully the world language department will continue with having at least 2 or 3 languages, well, 3 languages, I hope. Okay, and that was
Thank you.
basically it. We got, a lot of it, nothing was decided, it was just my ideas and
Great.
things I've heard.
Thank you very much, and I know we need money for many of those
That's
things
right.
you mentioned.
And that's one thing I said, you need the money.
And my question always is about the curriculum with phys ed and health, and also the Asian American curriculum,
Yeah,
that's all
they're-
intact?
Well, they are, yes, and if they purchase, I know when you purchase a program, many times they'll incorporate those,
Yes. Thank you.
standards.
And in addition to that, I'd like to congratulate and thank Ms. Min for arranging for an outrageous programs that I was honored to attend on the, from Asian American community. I don't know if Ms. Min, you want to mention anything about it? It was phenomenal.
Yeah,
And
that
I
was
thank
a
you for
great, about 30 students and 7 teachers, and 1 principal came from South Korea. There was a #1 school in, South Korea, and they performed beautiful traditional performance, dance, then they sang, and also from our Palisades High School students, they performed the dance.
Yes.
So we just shared different kind of cultural things, so the teachers and students, everyone enjoyed so much. And then after that, I went to have a lunch with them, and we just talk about maybe next year. In July, they invite me to go there to share about their curriculum, and then also they plan to come here to perform in Carnegie Hall. So that would be very great
That'd be great.
to exchange the
Yes.
program each other.
That only enhanced
And,
what we presently have, and I thank you for doing that. That
You're
was
welcome.
phenomenal.
When did
Well
they have
done.
the performance?
Was October 7th?
I think
Was it
so,
last
yeah.
year?
I think we mentioned it at the last meeting we had
Last meeting,
spoken about it.
Yeah, I was with that.
Yeah, it was outrageous, outrageous.
What's the school's name?
Korean National Traditional High School in Korea.
Is it public
They
school?
from government. They government support them.
Okay.
So it's public, yeah,
Yeah,
it was
it's a
great.
kind of public.
Public in Seoul?
From Seoul.
It was nice.
Yeah, that was-
Okay,
It's a public school that do the traditional Korean performance as well as the instrument.
Okay, I see in Korean.
국악학교 in
when
Korea.
you go there, you'll see.
한국 국악학교.
Okay, great. Negotiations, Ms. Garcia, Mr. Madison.
No report.
Okay, policy, Ms. Garcia.
Policy, we have already adopted, this policy. There was an update issued by NJSBA. The updates were circulated to board members. It essentially just provides more, specific information as to the consequences, that students may face if they are presented with charges of harassment, intimidation, or bullying. Most significantly, there are degrees for the first act, the second act, if the same student commits a second act of harassment, and also details the requirements of the schools to keep records of this, to notify parents of the incidents and things of that nature.
Going through this, I saw the consequences, and I know suspension and expulsion, termination, that's of them, I hope, it's just,
There could be a HIB violation against faculty and staff as well.
oh, okay,
that-
so that'd be employee.
I'm not firing any kids.
Right, or terminating any
They're
kids.
not on payroll.
Good, well, good, that's why I saw termination, I said, uh-oh.
Tom, these are only suggestions.
Okay.
You can
Adopt any of these?
Like to the district.
Great,
You don't have to go with these.
great.
I have a question, Ms. Njsla. I just, a quick questions. So regarding on this kind of policy adoption, that we don't need any legal advice from attorney? Because I'm just asking, because I've seen in the workshop regarding policies, and there's always attorneys in New Jersey, so I just.
Right, so typically, the policy committee receives the update and we share it with the board. So it's not a legal matter, it's a policy matter.
And I'm
So-
sure New Jersey school boards, if I
Correct.
may, has a
Right.
attorney on staff that reviews it before they share it
Before
with
we
us.
get it.
Right. So we are members of NJSBA, we pay a fee to have them share these policy updates with the district.
And they scrutinize it.
Correct, and they
Everything?
have their own team,
Okay.
so when
It's a
we
good
get it,
question.
and most
Yeah.
other districts all, have the same
But
benefits.
then the email as, the email from secretary, what if there's any issues that we need to, amend any of these policies?
What was circulated, I think 2 weeks
or-
ago, I think the policy updates were circulated to the board about 2 weeks ago.
And I share this because again, the board probably only hears the actual hearing that comes before you when I make the presentation. But we also share this with our building principals, who actually are at the forefront of any and all concerns. So they have to be aware as well. Much of the updates with regard to this are police involvement and keeping of these records and sharing of the records, where in the past, a lot of it is obviously still confidential, but there is a stronger presence and requirement being placed on the school districts, and we have to enforce that.
I have a question. So you circulated this 2 weeks ago,
I
About
do.
a week ago, I emailed it to everyone,
but I was not included.
I didn't know that. Maybe-
Yeah. So
Okay.
apparently it came to my attention, a lot of time I am excluded from the emails that circulate among the board members. I understand that, because as a board attorney, I charge every time I receive email. However, I think I do need to be kept updated with what's going on, especially with the policy issues. And, about the general matters that the board members need to know about.
Why
If they have
would you
any-
charge if you received an email?
I'm sorry?
Why would you charge if you received an email? Unless you had to offer an opinion on it,
Right.
right?
Well,
I mean, if I
and
just
you
sent
work
you an
that-
email,
so-
you charge us.
Are you asking me why
Yeah, no,
I
I'm
charge?
asking you. No,
Is
I'm
this
asking
the agenda that we're gonna discuss
Excuse me?
tonight? Is this agenda we're gonna discuss on board? How I charge?
No, I'm asking you why we charge. when
Yeah, no,
we-
we
Because
could just-
any work that I do as attorney, I charge.
Right, does anyone have any questions, legal questions for the attorney? That is, I think, more important, because again, just by sending this, you can have a copy
No,
of it, that's no
excuse me,
problem.
I'm asking, if I send you the agenda, because I want to give you that information, why do we get charged for it? That's the question I was asking.
I think
If
this
it's
is
not-
inappropriate to discuss during
Yeah.
tonight's
No, I'm
meeting.
sorry,
You
I'm
can
just
call
used
me
to
and
it
ask
differently.
that question later,
Yeah.
but it's
think-
inappropriate.
Can I speak?
Well, this is not, this is not,
Yeah, maybe as a new business, whatever, I think there might be something, I never knew until Dr. Cirillo and the Tom, you mentioned about the, Tony's bills, whatever, it's sometime in July, right? I think you got it, all the billings, and somehow, all of a sudden you talk about the kind of billings, right? Maybe you can make a new business, right? I just want to take a brief, I'm very in deep, look into the kind of practice of billings, not simply Sarah Kane, our general counsel, or also previous old attorney. I think maybe 3 or 4 previous general counsel. I just want to take a look at it. So we'll just make it as a new business, right? Because somehow even Diana raised the kind of issue. So I just want to take a look at it.
I'm just going by past precedent, that's.
Right,
Okay.
it's
Yeah,
not
we'll
a
make a
legal
new business,
matter.
right.
It's not a legal.
Okay, but this is not something
Yeah, I
that
think
is
it's
part of the
something
agenda right
that's
now.
fine.
Okay, thank you very much. Next one would be PTA,
Are we
PTS.
are we voting on the policy?
Oh, I'm sorry, the policy has to be voted on. Do we have a motion on that? I guess it
I
was
make
Ms.
a motion
Garcia.
to approve.
Okay, second?
Second.
Any discussion on the policy? If not, roll call, please.
Dr. Matarazzo.
Yes.
Young Min.
Yes.
Aniesca Garcia.
Yes.
Sue Chung.
Yes.
Jason Kim.
Yes.
Kevin Lynn.
Yes.
Peter Longo.
Yes.
John Madison.
Yes.
Charlie Shin.
And I'm very happy to say the next item, PTA, PTSA, which was Renaissance and,
I heard, very happy news for PTA as well. membership. That will start the member to drive probably tomorrow and next week. Or, PTA President Ms. Pepperotti. Can you briefly talk about the membership, how it's going on?
We finally have the EIN number and we just opened the bank account today, so this is huge. So we should probably, most likely, those will be in the kids' folders on Monday.
Great, thank you so much for all that you did in starting it, and I was very honored to become a member, and I hope all the board members will become members, and we'll be a very, great partner with you on that, I promise you.
Thank you for the board members that are support the PTA.
Thank you.
Thank
Always,
you. And
always.
membership.
Any other report on that, other than obviously the Renaissance and, thank you so much. Next one be student activities and field trips, Ms. Min.
Yes, before us, we have 2 resolutions, and I'd like to make a motion as the consent of it.
Second on that? Is that
Second.
included,
Second.
Diane, the trip to Italy? I don't know if I have.
Number
I
2.
just-
So, did I get it? Okay, great. Any discussion on that? If not, roll call, please.
Dr. Matarazzo.
Yes.
Newman.
Yes.
And Njsla Garcia.
Yes.
Sue Chung.
Yes.
Jason Kim.
Yes.
Kevin Lim.
Yes.
Peter Longo.
Yes.
John Madison.
Yes.
Charlie Shin.
Yes.
Next
Do you
item,
have any questions, Dr. Matarazzo, on the trip to Italy?
just that, how many is,
Well, Ms. She couldn't be here tonight, Mr. Blasco.
okay,
She said
that's gonna be
if
done during the,
anyone could email her if they have any questions. She
Where
can
they
come to,
go? Same place? down
Rome, Naples, Pompeii.
Or like they did before?
Yeah, well, it's a tour, yeah.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
and will that be done during the break?
During spring break, so you're not missing any school.
Okay, great. And if anyone has any questions on that, we can get that to Mr. Blasio then. Thank you, and thank her for doing that. Okay, next one will be calendar, food services, Mr. Kim.
Nothing to report this time.
Thank you. Old business.
I have a comes to ask, regarding on the meeting time. So I think you're aware of email transaction regarding meeting time. It was 6:30 to.
Yes, 6:30 is the work session. Inadvertently, we could not get it in the papers on time for this
The work
meeting.
session was mentioned in this email and in this notice.
There was
Okay.
no work session today.
There was no work session today, but in the
Even
future.
it was 6:30, there's no work session
No,
mentioned.
not
right,
today.
so-
But
Right.
we will
But-
advertise next month to have a work session at 6:30,
Right,
and then 7 o'clock our regular meeting.
also,
Well,
but
To
like.
clear this matter up, Mr. President, why don't we just make a motion somehow that from now on we'll meet at 6:30?
6:30.
Instead
Yeah,
of
that's-
on and off, this way she doesn't, because she has to post it every time we
Yeah.
come at 6:30.
No, I
I'm
think
gonna
we
do that,
did,
John. I couldn't get it in the paper in time, but the next 2 meetings will begin at 6:30.
Okay,
Yeah.
and it's only 2 more
Right, I
meetings.
Put it in the paper.
yes,
Like the
okay.
email that she sent yesterday about the show will post on the newspaper next.
Right, next month.
Starting next month and then December.
And December.
November and December.
Didn't it need to be voted in the board? Who
We,
decided?
we did vote on
We
that.
did vote on it.
We did vote on that, I
Yeah.
believe, 2 meetings.
Was it like work session? Because it didn't
was-
mention
yeah.
work session.
Work
But
session.
last month it was work session.
Yes.
But then everybody was sitting there and then I was told that the public was not permitted to be in the
There
work
was
session.
public here.
That
Public was here.
Public was here.
No, but I asked her that I was told.
Yeah. Yeah, no,
that
public could be here,
the
but then at
public
7 is the regular meeting.
Will come at 7.
Yeah, the public comes at 7,
Yeah,
it said?
yeah, that's why I left the board last
Yeah.
month.
I think there was public here last month, I don't know how it was printed in the paper, I didn't see it. Okay. Any other old business? New business?
I have 3 very important resolutions I would like to share with the board. No specific order, so I will start with, I guess, the time of the essence. Annually, we are required by law to do a self-assessment in each of our schools. The assessment is to analyze our HIB policies, any assembly programs we do in our schools, any programs we offer for children or staff. Are they all trained? And I am very pleased to tell you that in all 3 of our schools, our self-assessments, which has to go to the state for analysis, is higher than it was last year. So we are clearly moving in the right direction. Fingers are crossed. So far, we've had 2 months, and I think I might have just jinxed it, but no hearings. But the reality is I'm very pleased with the culture, the climate, the attitudes of our children. They've been resilient. It feels pre-COVID, which is wonderful to see in our schools. I said that last month, I say it again today. It is just a breath of fresh air to be in our schools and watch kids be kids again. So I need a resolution for the submission of our HIB self-assessments.
Okay, do I have a motion on that resolution?
I make a motion.
Second on that?
Second.
Okay, discussion. Roll call, please.
Dr. Matarazzo?
Yes.
Yoon Min?
Yes.
Annie Garcia?
Yes.
Sue Chung?
Yes.
Jason Kim?
Yes.
Kevin Lynn?
Yes.
Peter Longo?
Yes.
John Madison?
Yes.
Great.
Second resolution that I am seeking a motion, a second, and a board approval on is every 3 years, I've mentioned this to the board, to the public, the state of New Jersey monitors every public school. There is a system called Hvac. It is an acronym that the Department of Education comes to our schools and focuses on 5 critical areas: instruction and programming, governance, fiscal responsibility, personnel, and I'm forgetting one, I apologize, operations. Thank you. Alex is pretty good. He's getting it. And operations. Thank you, Alex. We have to do a self-assessment. It is required that we submit the self-assessment to the state before they come in and evaluate us. This is a 3-year endeavor. I can tell you that this is my 4th time going through this process as a superintendent. Last time we did this, we were successful and proficient in all 5 areas, which I'm very proud and pleased to report. I sit here before you and tell you that Ms. Garcia is the liaison to this committee. We must have 1 board member on the committee. I thank you for your time. It is made up of school representatives. It is made up of myself and Ms. Pilati. Thank you very much for serving with us, a local collective bargaining unit teacher. So a motion, a second, and a resolution for our submission. The Department of Ed is coming in, I believe, in the new year. They don't tell you when because they like to surprise you. But the reality is we are ready, and we will put our best foot forward like always.
Okay, I'd like to entertain a motion on that.
Can I ask you one question?
Of course, Ms.
about
Minch.
the Hvac,
Well, first, second it. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, now discussion. Yes, Ms. Finn.
Sorry. You know what, that every 3 years they are going to have a Hvac. Do they have a same 5,
Yes. To the best of my,
Exactly same,
since
yeah.
I've been here, the same 5 areas have always been, it's instruction and program, fiscal, governance, operations, and personnel.
So we could prepare. if
But
they have a-
well, the issues are within each of those 5 domains, there are, stems that branch off of that big tree. So those may change year after year. One of the components is, did we present our test scores at a public meeting within 60 days? We just did so. One of those components is, as we had the concern earlier, do we, within 60 days, approve our financials? Clearly, we hope to do that next Thursday, and we will be in compliance. Additionally, something like, and I know Ms. Montemuro puts this out annually, our ethics disclosure. That is a requirement. That is something that they will check, and I'm confident to say we review all of this. There is supporting documents required to submit, but we are ready. God bless you.
Thank you. Thank you.
It's all true, whatever I just said.
Okay. Any other discussion on that? If not, roll call, please.
Dr. Matarazzo?
Yes.
Yoon Min?
Yes.
Annie Garcia?
Yes.
Sue Chung?
Yes.
Jason Kim?
Yes.
Kevin Lynn?
Yes.
Peter Longo?
Yes.
John Madison?
Yes.
Charlie Schiff?
Thank you very much. And last but not least, time is always in, crunch time, right? This past week, on Tuesday actually, we had the architects, the board approved, Perret Samjian Architects, have a bid opening, which is a closed process which the public is invited to. And this was a process that the board has approved. I commend them for it. A $6.8 million project that the architects estimated for the upgrades to our HVAC in the 3 schools. We bid this out publicly. Anyone can apply for it so long that they meet the qualifications set forth by the New Jersey Department of Labor. With that being said, there are prevailing wages associated to all of these projects. I am very pleased to tell you that all 3 of our projects went out individually because we felt if we did it as one big project, one company may get it and it may prolong the process of completion. Instead, we figured let's try this as 3 projects. Still possible that one company could bid on them all and get it. Fortunately, I am sitting here before you to tell you not only did we get 3 separate companies, we are way below what the architects thought this project would cost, which, fingers crossed, there are not many change orders, there are not many contingencies added later, but I have from the architects on their letterhead, they reviewed and they are ensuring compliance and requirements of the projects would be met for the HVAC at the Early Childhood Center in the amount of $749,000. At Lindbergh Elementary School in the amount of $894,400, and at the Junior Senior High School in the amount of $3.68 million. Major upgrades will include new boilers, heat, ventilation, air conditioning, ensuring that there is fresh air, as we know to be critically important in all of our schools, pipe replacement. At our Junior Senior High School, where we had major leaks, the pipes will be running through a roof that doesn't exist because all of our roofs are flat. We need to start pitching them so the water doesn't sit there and we don't continue to get water damage and mold. So again, I am asking for the board to consider the 3 projects, whether we want to do them individually or collectively. The great news is 6.8 million was allocated. Those 3 totals equal 5.3. Which means we can continue with the work that we want to do in all areas to improve our schools' climate.
And then all this is from federal monies, so state money?
I would tell you that 90% of this, now that we are at that 5.3 number, is federal money.
Great.
Some of it is capital reserve that we've been saving year after year for projects such as this.
And did we have our architects review everything and?
Architects on their letterhead, I believe this was shared with with Finance Committee, with everyone. Thank you, Diane. They shared that on their letterheads, they are recommending all 3 of these companies to be well vetted and approved vendors in the state of New Jersey.
And you recommend this?
I'd be sure and happy to.
Okay.
Again, I
Do we
was
have-
excluded from the email, and this is the first time that I'm hearing the results.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, that in the email from the architects that it says they're asking the board to review the legal counsel before they award the bidding, the company.
Okay.
So we didn't inform the attorney of that?
Is it
So
necessary?
I spoke to Mr. Shin earlier, who heads buildings and grounds, and we spoke. If you want the board attorney to review this, I make recommendations. You guys can approve or deny.
No, when the architect said the legal committee in the board, what does that mean?
So it says, please consult with the district's legal counsel. So again, if you would like that we discuss this with the board attorney, I have all 3 packets. You can do that. I have no concerns whatsoever.
Yeah, not only for, I think, not only for our attorney to review that document, but I also take a look at it, the document very in detail. Because,
You would like to look at it?
yeah, because, I think, I know you sent a kind of email, testing the kind of 3, proposal, done by the Samsung, right? But I just want to take a look at it because, there is a lot of issue that, based on my experience, right? I think it's good, in terms of utilizing, financial budget, right? By picking like a lowest bidder, it's always good, but we need to take some kind of qualitative analysis of the kind of bidders, right? Because a lot of, the instances, right? The lowest bidder may not be the proper, the construction company, because they simply undercut. I know, they are state qualified kind of bidders, but we need to take up definitely some kind of qualitative analysis of the bidders. I just want to take a look at it because I think it's kind of too early. I think for you to present it for kind of resolution today, because I think that there should be some way that our attorney should take a look at it, and also I just want to take a look as a finance committee. Yeah. Because we make almost a 5.3. I look at the total, the bidding is a $5.35 million, right?
Will this hurt us in any way if we wait? I mean, I know, to be honest with you, if I read it, if I went through this, I don't know I'm not that versed as an architect.
Yeah.
To know, I'm not that talented, to know all of that. I don't know if anyone else is, but if we wait on this, will it hinder us in any way?
I could only speak to, the cost may, increase. Again, I don't know how long the review would take, and I'm just talking about
I
personal.
don't want key questions, because I don't have professional knowledge on these things, but
Nor do I.
As of yesterday, the only one letter from architects. So I just researched that company that they recommended on the Google. The lawsuit
The
with,
lowest. I see 'em.
yeah, East Brunswick, with that company came out in a Supreme Court case 2 years ago. It's same issue with this, like a bidding for the HVAC, and then there's issues. I didn't look all of the document, because it was just
Ms.
very
Chung,
short of time.
I don't pick the architects. I trust the board pick the architects.
Right.
I trust that they are the professionals. I would not, honestly, I sit here before you, I wouldn't know what documents are acceptable and what is not. I never went to school to study what is required to be submitted, but when they put on their letterhead, as a professional organization, that they have done it, I feel comfortable in sharing that with the board. Again, to Dr. Matarazzo's question, only one of the 3 companies asked what the timeline would look like. I don't know if that means they have other projects and that might delay it. I can't speak for the companies, but I also, this is a very large undertaking. This is major construction and renovation for our district. If the district feels more comfortable with not doing something tonight, again, I have everything here for the board attorney.
Yeah.
Completely what you guys decide is your decision.
But
So,
our
as-
architect,
yeah,
our
I think-
architect recommended
Yeah.
it.
I
So
know,
what I'm saying is
yeah,
that,
yeah, we just give a lot of respect to our architect opinion.
sure, out of
Well,
respect to them.
As a person in charge of finance committee, right, I just want to take a look at the, like I said, I just give some kind of opinions, right, about we need to take a look at the qualitative analysis of the bidders, right? I know it's always good, to select like, with bidders, but that's not all the cases, right? Because based on my
Right.
experience, and you said you don't have experience, right? Well, I think based on my experience,
Sure.
my undergrad major in electrical engineering, so when I was in Air Force, I spent a lot of time dealing with like bidders, and we have like, tons of budget because I was working in Air Force headquarters in Korea. Particularly, I just took in charge of this one. There's a lot of bid readings, so that I just live constant, even though I just give full respect to some zone the architects, right? But I need to take a look at the all the.
See, I'm afraid that if we wait, then we're not going to be able to make
So I
the
think
time frame
that's
to
why I
get it
suggested,
done.
like, in my email, we could have a special kind of meetings, right? As a chairman, you may, respect, our opinions as well.
Mr. Lim, since I think, and again, we can go in circles all night, we can be here till tomorrow morning. Since we are seeking a special meeting next Thursday, I would be more than happy to give this to Ms. Sarah Kim. And if she would like to review it, if you would like to review it, I know it's a week, I know it's a lot of information. But if we're gonna be here next Thursday, I don't know that 1 week is going to delay a project.
Okay, good.
This is not something that's gonna be done overnight.
That's
This is
what I'm
gonna
saying.
take months and
Yeah,
potentially
that's
years.
what I'm saying.
Okay.
We just got the, the recommendation letter from Samsung, and, I think, I was a little
So then
surprised.
okay, so next week, we're gonna put 2 items on the agenda.
That's right, it depends on how fastly we.
Is that enough
review it.
time,
Yeah.
Well-
Ms. Kim? I don't know if that's enough time. This is major, I don't even know what to look for.
Well, I just need to review the procedure, because it's very.
Not the detailed here, but the
Right,
procedure.
procedure, whether
The
we did
procedure
it-
of,
The public bidding, yeah, that's.
so do you wanna
that's-
speak with the architects?
So
Because
I'll
they,
go through the papers, I'm not gonna review it in detail, probably some of them are very technical.
So maybe Mr.
but-
You can.
Yeah, I think, for the first agenda, we'll definitely get done next week,
Next Thursday.
But
Yeah,
for
I
this
agree
one,
with
it
the same,
depends
so,
on
yeah.
how fast we will be able to, go
Again, I wouldn't know if I read it, I'm not
Yeah,
that
well, yeah,
versed.
we know your time is-
Okay, so why don't we have it and post it that it's going to be for the 2 items for next Thursday, okay?
Could it be ready?
And it'll have to be ready, okay? So then you have a whole week.
I cannot say everything should be ready, because,
Well-
Mr. Lim said he doesn't know if it's gonna be ready, Tom, so I'm just gonna.
I'm-
advertise for the-
I'm saying we should advertise it, then vote on it, and if, See what you can find out by next week.
Mr. Lim, you know, at the conference, Perret Samjian Architects
They're
will
gonna
be
be
at the
there.
conference, or I can schedule a conference call or a Zoom meeting with them if you'd
Yeah,
like.
that's right, yeah, I think we need to have, I just wanna take a look at the old document.
Yeah.
And some kind of conference call, we have to listen to what they will say, but, behind how they make a decision.
I will schedule some time on Monday. I know Mr. Shin and I think Ms. Chung, will you also be at the conference Monday?
Usually, yeah.
So if I could schedule a time on Monday, that the three of you meet with Perret Samjian in Atlantic City.
Down there at the
And I
convention.
can conference Ms. Kim into the call. Maybe we can have many of the questions answered?
I just
And
wanna
then make those.
That's a good compromise.
Just don't gamble all day.
That'll be a good compromise.
Tuesday night.
Maybe, after 6 or 7, because we have to come back, so after, if it is alright, make it 8 PM or 9 PM, because, we have to go, you have our agenda.
On Monday?
Yeah, Monday, because, I have an agenda to attend the conference, right? So.
I don't know if they're gonna meet at 8 or 9 o'clock at night.
Someone will be available. I'll make them available.
I really want to listen for you.
Okay.
So
Gotta get
maybe
this approved.
that's what we need.
Okay, he'll arrange that. Dr. Cirillo arrange that.
Please advise me about the time, 8 PM Monday night?
Yeah, 8 PM Monday night.
Okay, does that
Okay.
work for you, Ms. Kim? I will call them this evening to make sure. Will the three of you still be there in person, or
Will you
do
be
you
down
wanna do
there?
this virtually? I know Ms. Kim will be virtual.
Because maybe.
Will you be home by 8 or 9 o'clock?
Yeah, after finishing what I want to schedule, we will be coming back to here.
Okay. So you should be home by 8 or 9 o'clock.
No, 8 or 9. I can't tell them 8 and then we meet at 9.
They
need
should
to
make
tell
it
me.
9 so you don't rush.
Why don't you email me?
Let's just wait, I'll send an email, yeah.
Email me tomorrow to confirm the time. Please include Ms. Kim.
Well, because
Okay.
this is gonna be an issue that they're not
So
gonna
then,
be air
yes, Mr.
conditioning
Kim.
in summer, that's
We'll
an
have
issue.
audience participation.
I mean, it's great that we cut down to 5.8 million.
5.3.
5.3 million.
But you
But
know
we're
what?
talking about the 5.3 million. So any contract we have that amount, I've been called as a stingy person. But you need
No, as an
to
individual, not,
review. Thank you for saying that.
yeah, not as a,
But we need to lawyer to review that. We're talking about the $5.3 million.
Yeah,
So
but the
definitely-
expectation was like $6.8 million.
Right.
Then it reduced to 5.3. So I'm very happy to that, but in the meantime, there is too much difference because the expectation was like 20% more.
but
So
we'll
I
be
think-
spending that money
Right,
anyway.
I'm happy to that, but
Again, so
still,
there's
there is too much
some
difference. So
cushioning.
right?
Folks, I also can share, and again, the bid opening is an open, no different than this venue. Well, you can attend. What I can tell you is, if a company is traveling, and there was some bidders from out of state, when they are traveling in far proximity, versus one company being from Little Ferry, New Jersey, I think a travel expense, a hotel for their employees, are all conditions that have to be factored in. I can't speak to why someone was below what we anticipated from our architects. I am just grateful we're able to afford these 3 projects.
Well, you know, I think, you gotta take a look at the last email you sent me, right? Based on, last budget that, Sandra sent, right? Even though it said like $5.35 million, right? The construction budget, what they are, came up with, right? So $5.27 million, they said like $530,000 like a contingency, right?
Yes.
Without taking the contingency into account, right? I think what the bidding is, even more than the Sandra.
So the bids are inclusive of any contingencies, Mr.
So
Lim.
that's what I
They're-
just want to.
so what I
can
you
tell you-
The bids-
It's early because without taking a look at the
The
details.
bids
right?
have all the contingencies included. What it doesn't have is
Yeah.
any change orders. So if they opened up this ceiling to run pipes and there was asbestos, we might have a problem. That would be a change order that would cost us more money.
That's right. So that's
So-
that's what I'm saying.
We will schedule a time for you to speak with them.
Yes, you could ask them all of that. And now with things being so competitive, maybe people are charging less because of the fact that there are so many people bidding, they know
I
this, so
can't
that's
say
why.
whether they're charging less or not until I take a look at the details.
And
Here's
so-
some good news,
Yeah.
so we can move on.
Yep.
The cleanup at the high school has been satisfied.
Finished?
I have a clean bill of health from Detail Associates, literally received today, this is to inform you that the asbestos abatement project conducted at the above referenced location, Palisades Park Junior Senior High School, was completed on October 19th, 2022. The project consisted of removing asbestos-containing ceiling tiles from the auditorium. The final air samples examined by transmission electron microscopy using the EPA analytical method were found to meet the EPA standard of averaging less than 70 structures per milliliter squared. Based on these results, the auditorium area may be opened for all trades. So the good news is, what has been cleaned up at the high school has also been tested with air quality. It can be reopened. I'm not doing that just yet. I've yet to see it myself. I've looked at it on a camera. It looks great. We can finally see it again. But hopefully within the next week, our students, faculty, staff, and community can be back in there.
And also, I mentioned at our meeting about the illumination at Lindbergh School, and I think Alex said he was gonna be looking into it, so hopefully that'll be rectified, and I could let, I guess Grace was the head of the Korean Parents Association, and I promised her I would, so it may happen very soon. Thank you, Alex, for that. Okay, so right now, we have a motion.
No, we don't.
We have no motion on the floor? Okay, so next week, then, we will vote on 2 items next Thursday at 7 o'clock, just so everyone knows, okay?
Mr. Kim, did you have your hand up?
Did you have your hand up? I'm sorry, did you?
I suddenly don't understand. I thought I had the floor. I raised a hand, I got committed, and I was saying something.
Yeah, that
And I was
was-
interrupted by Mr. Chen, and I interrupted by Mr. Lim.
Oh, okay.
So, I don't know.
I don't know what else,
We have
okay,
a
what else
Robert
did you wanna
rule here.
add? What else did you wanna add? I'm sorry.
No, I forgot what I was going to say, because somebody just interrupt me and then
And you
just go
forgot?
on with it.
Okay, if you think about it,
Okay.
we can still
I mean,
discuss it.
You know,
I'm sure they
I was
didn't do it
saying the
intentionally.
importance of using the lawyers. You know, if you have a $5.3 million, then we should have the lawyer to review.
Yes, the procedure, she said she's going to review.
Yeah, so
Okay.
I just wanna make
Yeah,
a
she
point
had-
that that's the right direction that we
Yes.
are going. Yeah.
Yes.
That's it. I'm done.
So now, anyone else? I'm sure they didn't mean it intentionally. Okay, any other items? If not, that'll close that. We'll go into audience Did we do new business? Yes, we finished.
Don't start it all over.
And we'll start with audience participation. Yes, ma'am.
I'm just gonna, we've been here way too long, so
Yes.
I have like a long list of things, I'll just ask the one. Teachers from like the same grade, like students.
I'm sorry, name and.
Sorry, right, Noemi Rivera, 512 Glen Avenue. So, okay, so teachers from the same grades assign drastically different workloads at different levels. I wanna know, how can we assure, or what measures are being taken place to ensure that there's minimum uniformity in the workload? And the reason I ask this is because my son's kindergarten teacher, she was really big on sight words and RAS kids, so he's reading at an above grade level. But there are many moms who have come up to me and approached me asking me, is your child reading? They didn't have sight words in kindergarten. So now their children are behind and they're having to do extra help. And the parents are struggling at home because they don't know how to teach their kids how to read. You know, I'm very
Good point.
fortunate. My mother was an educator for many years. I'm working from home, so we are very hands-on with my kids. But not many people have that opportunity.
Everybody has that luxury.
That's it. Thank you.
Good point. Before we go, any other audience questions? Yes, ma'am.
No, please. No, please.
Mary Papoter for 4 Glen Avenue. Dr. Cirillo answered my question. That was the update for the last report that you made in the auditorium, right? From what you find in the auditorium. That was the report. Okay, so I'm happy for that. I was gonna ask that. Welcome back, Mr. Jason Ken. We miss you here.
Thank you. Always be welcome.
I noted that you wasn't here, you see? And now, I wanna say to all the board members that thank you, because I really like how you guys get interested in this stuff and get more information and ask questions, and this is what we need, and I really like that. I really like that you guys take the time to share and get into detail and make it better for us.
Very good. Yes,
And I like that.
I agree.
And the last thing, I'm in 3 minutes. everybody, please, if you could become a PTA member, you all are welcome. You don't have to have kid in school. You could be a member, secretary, board member, everybody's welcome to become a member. We need help. We need new member, but we can make this successful. We started, and hopefully, we all the help from the community, we could make it better, and we could become and have a strong PTA that we needed so badly in our town. Thank you. It's gonna be $10.
Very minimal.
All you guys, and we accept check, cash, right, Donnie? Secretary.
That's it.
Please
Thank you.
help us in that, and I know all the principal and the secretary and everybody's been very helpful with us. And I know you guys also, the board member is gonna help us to become successful in this.
Absolutely, we're gonna be a
Thank
great
you.
partner, and I thank you
Thank
for
you.
everything and everyone.
And congratulations for that, my daughter loved the show that they did, like the presentation. She came and said, Ma, look, I love it.
It was great.
So she was
They
very
was
happy.
very motivated,
Yes,
for the
yes.
high school kids.
Thank
It
you.
was very nice, though.
Thank you.
Thank you, we need
Mr.
more.
Rivera.
Hello, I try, Bradley Rivera, 512 Glen Avenue. I try to come as much as possible. Some of you know me, some of you might not. But I got three small points to make. The first one, Lindbergh School on the right corner. I forgot what street is that, where the handicap parking spot is. On the corner, as a rough.
No, at East
Palisades?
Palisades. There's a cone that's parked that says handicap, right next to a sign that says handicap, on a outline that says handicap. So when you park the car, parents have to back up their cars. And consistently, I'm seeing either someone almost get hit or someone running over the cone. And when you almost hit somebody, the crossing guard doesn't always say something, but if you run over that cone, she'll chase you to the end of the earth. So I don't think the cone is necessary on the ground, given that it's creating a safety hazard. So I would like the board to seriously consider, before something terrible happens, to remove that cone immediately.
We don't have, I don't know if we have.
We'll answer everything at the end.
Okay.
Yep, so
Okay.
I don't know who makes that
Yes.
decision,
Yeah.
but just at least evaluate it.
Okay.
Secondly, to Mr. Lim's point, as a systems integration engineer and a RAMS engineer, I have to tell you the best bid is not always the right bid. I've been both sides of government contracts for evaluating, approving, and rejecting equipment based on analysis. And I have to tell you that they could give you a good bid in the work, and the architects will tell you the structural work, but the equipment being used may not have the service or shelf life you guys expect. It may generate too much energy, it may not generate enough energy, and before you know it, you have a deficit because you're generating too much power, you're overheating. So you have contractual geniuses here, you have people who are, educators, but you need the right people to analyze the work being done and the product being selected. You may be getting a discount because you're getting something from the Wuhan Clinic of Electricity. You don't want something like that. You have to make sure that the equipment being used is certified and you have a warranty on it, and you're not gonna pay for it in the long run with electricity or overheating or, something that doesn't hold the test of time. And my last and final point. So I've been to a few meetings and I just have some advice for the board. This is generally very professional. Today was not the best look. So I would advise you guys, consult about yourself and talk to each other about standards of conduct, because there was some bickering going on over here, and from the parent side, did not look too professional. So please consider this comment, and it'll help this meeting go a whole lot faster if you guys don't bicker amongst yourselves on things that we can't comment on.
I agree.
Thank you.
I agree. Okay, anything else, audience? Yes, sir. I'm sorry.
I have about 350 questions.
3 minutes to say it.
All of the equipment, I've only been working in the school system 32 years. We have antiquated boilers that were antiquated when we put them in. Nobody even asked me, talked to me, anything. I've been the one crawling inside and outside these boilers, climbing up and down the units. I'd just like to know what you're putting in. As the gentleman was saying, there is some garbage out there, and there are some good things, and there are some great things. Please don't buy the garbage. I would like to see what you're doing, and if you're going to have another meeting with these people, I would like to be at least invited to give at least my opinion, and if anything, so that I can either laugh at you or say very good. And I will laugh at you if you put in what I think might be going in there. Like I say, it's 32 years working on those boilers, and I wasn't even talked to. Nobody even said anything about it. I heard it from other custodians that were talking about it. Doesn't give me any respect. So from now on, I guess, when you do have a problem, you're gonna go to somebody else to fix it. And it really makes me feel terrible. And I don't like feeling terrible, because when I do know me, I get really ticked off. And I'm ticked off right now. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am, I'm sorry.
Hi, my name is Jessica Figueroa Ramos. My son goes to EC. I'm at 32 Glen Avenue. So what actually brought me interest was a phonics program that you actually brought up, because of the fact that she also brought up in regards to, you know, sight words and kids going behind in learning. And then on top of that, the presentation that we just saw, that we do see that there is a number amount of children that are behind due to COVID and everything that happened with COVID that did cause some learning behind. And I also do know children who are struggling with reading and even struggling with speech because of the fact of, you know, unfortunately the mask. It covered our mouths, and the children are unable to see and physically visualize our lips moving so that they can able to pronunciate. I want to know how we can make this phonics program happen. There was funds made to purchase, right, or to hire 5 additional teachers to help bridge this gap. How can we bring this phonics program to also bridge this learning gap when it comes to reading?
Good question, excellent. Okay, anyone else? Yes, ma'am.
Hi, I'm Karen Halleck. I live in 54 West Edsel. I have 3 kids going to 3 different schools in Palisades Park. I had the same issue as her as far as the curriculum and it being different for all the kids, and I see, us moms try to get together and we talk and everybody's doing something else, so it's bad. But also I had, my daughter goes to Lindbergh, and we had a teacher who went on maternity leave. It was never discussed, no one said a thing about it, and then she just sent a message, then the day before she was leaving, that she was going on maternity leave, and that was it.
We have to approve, well, okay, we'll.
Yeah, I didn't hear anything about who was gonna take her place, even letting us know that she was leaving. I sent a message in Dojo, got no response. I need to know who's gonna be teaching my daughter, who this person is, and whoever's taking over right now. Is she a teacher? Is she an aide? Is she, what's going on? There needs to be more communication. I feel like it's lacking. And I don't wanna be, that pushy mom that's constantly sending emails, answer my email, let me know. And I shouldn't even have to email. I should have gotten an email ahead of time letting me know this was happening. That's my issue.
Okay.
I know.
Anyone else?
Just have one more.
Yes, ma'am.
Michelle from 132 East Harriet. My question is, and I asked this a while ago, what's the update with the whole sexual content that was going to be taught to the children in elementary school? Where are they at with that? And if it is going forward, are you guys going to be giving flyers, or should PTA be giving out flyers to parents who want to exclude them from that? Because if I need to know, I should be working on that and getting all that printed, that's fine.
Sure.
Are we gonna be, I'm sorry, we gonna be able to come to the meeting on Thursday? That's gonna be
Yes.
for public?
Oh, yeah.
And it's gonna be at what time, 7?
7,
Okay.
yes. Any other questions for Dr. Cirillo to address?
It's a board meeting.
I know. Okay, if not, we'll now go for the responses. Dr. Cirillo.
We have to close, audience?
Yeah, I guess I entertain a motion to close this session.
I make a motion.
Second? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay.
I will do my very best. I took some notes. Ms. Rivera, I think you were first, and I think Ms. Halleck also spoke to the inconsistencies, is the term I used, with grade level teachers maybe not teaching the same information. I wish I would have kept those principals here a little bit longer, but respectfully, I don't have the answer for you. I'm not going to sit here and lie to you. I know that there are different levels for every child, and we don't necessarily differentiate by grade level. First grade -2 is going to have all the high achievers. We want to incorporate all different levels of learners because we see students learn from each other just as well as they learn from the adults. So that's critical. What I will do, and I give you my word tonight, I will speak to the administration tomorrow morning. I will ask, and please don't ever think, I know I'm kind of touching your question and comments, don't ever think too many emails or too many phone calls is too much. Those are your children. Don't ever hesitate in reaching out, and please, if you don't hear back, call me. I guarantee you will hear back. With that being said, again, there's clearly, every child is unique, every child is at a different level. Some are more advanced. We saw that tonight. We only were able to recognize 5 or 6, but they deserve that recognition, and so does every other child in our school, but in a different way. But regardless, I will look at some uniformity across the board, and hope that our unit plans, although they may not be in the same place on October 20th, but by the end of the trimester, we all are hopefully in the same area. Okay, that's the hope. Again, I can't promise you today, but I will look into it.
We have the mapping, correct?
Curriculum mapping and unit plans, and again, teachers, to the point Ms. Halleck made, someone went out on leave, I promise you, it's a certified teacher in there.
No, yeah.
1,000,000%, but they should have sent you a letter.
Yeah, I wanna know.
We've always sent letters home. I don't know why that ball was dropped, and I'm gonna look into that one as well. Ms. Neris, auditorium, yes, it's clean bill of health. I'm not opening it yet, but know that we can be in there tomorrow morning and you are safe. You also spoke about transparency in this board meeting. Although it does get a little contentious, there's nothing to hide. Again, we are working together, or at the very least working together. Debates are sometimes a good thing. Stamp approvals and 9-0s are not always the best thing. So we have to continue to work together. No one's perfect. We are doing our best.
And I always think of the 2 words, organized chaos, when I see, so hopefully it'll stay that way.
I think you also mentioned PTA, and I will, if you have something to share, I can send it out on our website. I can put it on my Twitter page. I don't know if anyone follows me, but any and all sharing of that can be helpful. Mr. Rivera, Lindbergh School, Palisades Boulevard, remove the cone. I think Dr. Matarazzo enjoys speaking to the police lately. We do not hire the crossing guards. We do not control the streets. I'm going to call Captain Espino first thing in the morning though and say, we've had a concern and a complaint raised at our meeting. They need to be made aware of it. I don't tell people, go to the mayor and council and tell them, because I don't appreciate it when they tell people, come here. So if there's a problem, I like to work with anyone. If there's a problem, we're going to try to solve the problem. If the cone is the issue, guess what? There has to be more surveillance. There has to be a removal of a cone potentially, but I can't do that because again, I don't patrol the streets and or the crossing guards don't report to me. Number 2, you talked about the HVAC. I agree 1,000,000%. The lowest is not the best. But I can guarantee to you that many and all of these bidders have to use equal to or better products, as you are well aware. Regardless, again, that's why we have this process. I don't know who these companies are. I wouldn't know these companies. That's not my, specialty. But you're absolutely right. We might have a low bidder on this building, and we know there are some concerns in this building more so than other buildings. And this is the newest of our 3. Best foot forward, I think you taught us a lesson and we taught ourselves a lesson, but again, we're not perfect. We are striving to get better. Mr. Spalazzo, 32 years, I think the world of you. I was advised by the architects, without pointing fingers, that's not my style, that they've made attempts to call, whether they never connected or didn't.
Never.
I apologize. I will be with them Monday, so will the board members, and I will ensure, if that call is at 8 o'clock at night, keep your ringer on.
You know I carry it on me all the time.
Okay.
There's 3 more. You're in a rush?
Yes.
Ms. Ramos, phonics program, ECC, kindergarten. Do you know Ms. Romero? Building principal?
Yes.
I will be sure to tell her that you were here, that we have some concerns. She will be in touch with you. We need more collaboration. We need to continue to work together. If people don't tell me what the concerns are, we can't address them. So It's not a negative.
No, I'm not saying it's a negative, but at the same time, we just saw those numbers. So we do see that there is an issue.
Absolutely.
So that's my thing, and he brought up a phonics program.
Well, Mrs. Tennant said something about it. I don't know all the details, because I know I brought it up to them, and before I had a chance to bring it up, she mentioned it already. Because when I was in school, we did phonics, and then even when I started teaching at Lindbergh, and my wife taught there also, they always did phonics, and all of a sudden it stopped. And I noticed students in my honors class they were good readers, but they had difficulty sometimes sounding out words, and those are the top students. So imagine the regular students. And she said they were looking into something. I don't know the details, so I really agree with you.
Even penmanship they took out for a while, and I think they're bringing it back in.
Things go in cycles. It's very strange. They did it years ago, and they'll come back to it.
So unfortunately, the Department of Ed requires certain mandates, and again, although, and I know this will touch on Ms. Paprada's question and concern, there's only a certain number of days and a certain number of hours, and clearly the requirements and the mandates continue to mount, but the days and times don't expand. We're still in school for 180 days and more or less 7 hours a day, if that, right? Regardless, it's a concern, it's not a complaint, it's a valid point that I will definitely have the principal be in touch, and we can further this conversation.
You know what, as a teacher, I've been teaching about 25 years, and kind of phonics program, if you, research on YouTube or online, you can see a lot of songs, effective programs they have. So your kids can use, and also as a curriculum map, we assess 3 times. Each level has each different side words, So teachers, assess 3 times per
and
year.
I understand we definitely do use a lot of free programs at home, but like I said, at the end of the day, there was a presentation, and we saw numbers, and although the world doesn't want to admit about the pandemic hurting our children, the pandemic hurt our children.
That's what I'm saying, after school, maybe if you encourage your kids to look on YouTube, and they have very, very good program using vowel and consonant, using fingers, and then kind of songs, that as a kindergartner, little kids, they learn very fast.
Obviously, my child is addicted to that song, phonics on YouTube, so I always prevent him from
And also, each class has a we're using a differentiation method. Every kids learn different way. So you can, as a parent, you can evaluate, how your kids are learning, kind of speed. Then, you can collaborate with the teachers.
I absolutely already have that in plan. My son has an IEP, and we do private speech sessions outside of school, because like I said, unfortunately the pandemic did hurt his speech. The pandemic hurt a lot of kids' speech and reading and writing, and like I said, we saw the numbers. So there's a definite number of children that are in need of more assistance that I feel that YouTube can just provide. Like saying, yes, parents can do so much at home, but just like said, parents can only do but so much at home if they're spending 6 to 7 hours in school. This is a team collaboration. So if we're seeing that our kids are struggling at home, we can only imagine they're struggling at school.
Yeah, some of kids, they learn fast, Some of kids, they learn slow. But at the end of, as a result, I think you don't have to worry about it.
Okay, Dr. Cirillo?
Ms. Hvac, I think I raised or addressed, I hope I addressed your curriculum concern. The letter, I apologize, I will speak to the principal. I'm assuming that was Lindbergh Elementary School? And I'm assuming I know who the teacher is, and for respect of, maybe your child or you entered the school year in September, and there are privacy rights with our employees. I can't share that, she'll be here for the month of September, but she's gonna take a leave. I think we can make assumptions when we see things growing, bellies, but
I don't think it was so much.
but regardless, the point is, this is the teacher who is now taking over for this class, and we've always communicated that. I don't know why that slipped.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna find out.
Why she left or whatever. It's
Yeah.
I
just
promise
kinda
you,
let
I
us know
promise
who's
you,
taking
we will
over.
never put an uncertified teacher in a classroom
Okay.
without,
No, the one that's there, I think she's great. I just would like. I
there
don't
should
know,
have been
some sort of
communication.
Yeah, you know, at least telling the parents, this is who's gonna take over,
100%.
you know, whatever.
100%.
Or is she just there as temporary?
No,
you know,
I
just-
will look into it, and I'm sure correspondence will be sent,
Yeah.
although late.
Yeah.
Ms. Prada, last but not least, as far as our content that might be a little offensive to some or, you know, not kosher for others, I can tell you, and I've said this loud and clear, and I say it all the time, every lesson will and is being taught with age appropriateness first and foremost in mind. If there have been no concerns raised, and there was one at the kindergarten level here, about what type of structure is being taught to my child, we clearly explained to them, every family has the right to opt out of any lesson. I know teachers and or the administrators are sharing if the content could be offensive to some, because there are families that don't want school officials to teach certain subjects. I promise you.
How do the parents know what lessons exactly?
So again, a lot of that should be in the unit and or lesson plans and curriculum mapping. With that being said, if there has to be a better way to communicate that with the families and let them know, I can tell you, being a former high school student, there were lessons on certain subjects that my parents would have to agree or disagree in me partaking in, right? Think of biology lessons. Think about X and Y chromosomes. Think about things of sexual nature that might be offensive to some. I can tell you, if we can work with the PTA and there is a strong presence of multilingual families and we can get that communicated more effectively, this is exactly what we have been lacking. This is why I'm so excited that we're here. We're really close. You got the EIN, that's a huge hurdle. So congrats, and let's continue to work together. I hope monthly meetings are happening. I will have administrators there. I will be there. That needs to happen. That will lead to more success in our schools. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so that ends the questions, and that ends the audience participation part. We are now going to go into closed session. I don't think we're going to be coming out to vote on anything, correct? So I'd like to entertain a motion that we go into closed session.
Make a motion to go into closed session.
Second on that?
Second.
All in favor? Opposed? Okay. Thank you all for coming.